What's poppin', chat? Welcome. Happy Friday to everybody. I hope you had a good week. And if you didn't, well, it's over. Got something to show you guys. Check this out. A mug came for me today. Huh? Nothing on it. Okay. A little bit of magic to start the stream. Got my hot coffee in my New York Damien Drake mug. Just kidding. It's Starbucks. I'm going to pour it. Okay. This literally has disaster written all over it, by the way. I'm not even joking. I cannot pour. Okay, we're going to try. Ah! Ow! Ah, it's burning. All right. So legit nothing's happening. Maybe we have to give it a minute. What's up, Trevor? Maybe we have to give it a minute? Fuck. I should have planned this out. I should have tested it. Maybe the coffee's not hot enough? Alright. Not gonna lie. Bit disappointed. Ta-da! A black mug. Oh. Man. Alright, it was supposed to do something. I promise. It was supposed to do something. Oh, wait a second. Something's happening. Not that. Something's happening. Anyways, I hope you guys are doing great. It's Friday. The week's almost done. Adverse Effects is almost done. Nah, I lied. About 2/3 of the way through. We've had a fun week of streaming. This is my 5th day in a row. And even though I messed up some of the times, like, I'm still looking at this mug, by the way. Even though I messed up some of the times, I was here every day hanging out with you guys, with you crazy people. I wish someone could break down what we talked about this week because, well, I did very little work. That, let's be honest. One, we talked about beard treatment remedies, beauty tips for mascara. We talked about pet dogs. We talked about escaping tortoises, cats that fetch. We talked about how accents are just fancy lisps, let's be honest. We talked about scary movies. We talked about podcasts. We literally talked about everything you and I could collectively think of. Oh, it's happening. It's happening. And we got a little bit of work done in the interim. We also talked about authors that you guys want to see on this live stream, on the After Hours live stream, just like I did with Lex Vargas, and I reached out to a couple people last night. Nobody answered. Okay, so we're waiting on them, but, you know, they'll get back to me. Come on. I think it has to be a bit hotter. It just got here. Like, the mug literally came. In fact, I didn't even hear the mail lady knock on the door or anything. I just heard the van outside, and I looked down, and then it was there. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so that's some suspense. That's how you build suspense, all right? You have a shitty trick that fails horribly, and then you just keep telling them that it's going to happen. That's how we do it here. Oh, went for another run this morning. It was a little bit better than yesterday. The day is going to be beautiful. It's going to be 22 degrees. What time is it? It's 10 o'clock, right? Of course, it's 10 o'clock. I'm here on time. What's up, Sue? How you doing? I'm here on time. It's 10 o'clock. I'm bouncing around 2 o'clock. I'm going to go outside. Might have a beverage, maybe even a little cigar. Enjoy the weather because this week has been shit, rainy, pure pathetic fallacy going on. But today is a beautiful day. It's going to be like 22 here, centigrade. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. Probably like 80, 75, whatever. It's beautiful. Drew, thank you for the like. Everyone who's new here, all you lurkers coming to say hi, or coming just to lurk, because lurkers don't say hi. There's a tax here. You got to hit that like button. You know what? Let's do something different today. I'm feeling nutty. It's Friday. Why don't you guys write where you're from in the chat? That's all you got to do. Write where you're watching from. I get a breakdown of where people watch me from Facebook. That's it. Two people were like, fuck that. I'm out. Peace. They peaced out. So I can see. I see what's going on here. You guys just want free content. Hey, Lisa. What's up, Ray? Chicago. Nice. The Windy City. I have never been to Chicago. My wife has been several occasions. She says she loves it. And so I'm destined to go. Jacksonville, Florida. Florida, man. I make fun of Florida a lot. It's just easy. Never been to Jacksonville. When I was when I was still a pathologist, I used to go to this conference every year in Fort Lauderdale, and I loved it there. And then it switched to Sarasota, and then it went, where else did it go after that? I don't know. But beaches are nice. I could say that much. Rain in Chicago. Yeah, it was rainy. It was raining here all week in Montreal, except for today is fantastic. It's days like this that I regret the blackout curtains, but hey. Oh, we got small town rule of okay, so yeah, actually, the same conference that I went to in Fort Lauderdale actually moved to Denver for 1 year, and I went there, and it was great, man. I love that kind of downtown core. It had really like a small town feel to it. I felt like the walking area. I don't know the district or whatever, but went there a couple times. Ray, when is the next Chase Adams book dropping? My man, you've come to the right place because it's here. I'm writing it right now. Don't get angry. Don't get angry. But it's going to be a couple more days, couple more weeks. I'm talking to Amazon right now. I'm trying to push the deadline just a little bit. We had the lockdown, and then the lockdown was lifted, and then we had the lockdown again, and one of my kids was, like, I'm lamenting a bit here. One of my kids had to go home because a kid in their class had it, and it was this fucking mess trying to homeschool and shit, so I'm a bit behind schedule. But I'm here, right? And I'm getting some words done. I'll have to check the monthly word count in a few minutes. My mug. Oh, come on, man. Don't let me down. Something's happening. Something's happening. We'll have to wait. I don't think it's going to get better, though. The coffee's kind of cool. I have this problem where if any liquid that's like even remotely hot, can't do it, man. I'm like that elderly chick from McDonald's who sued because the coffee was too hot. That's me. Do you guys know that story? Thanks, Ray, man. I'm doing my best here. I'm working hard every day, putting the hours in. I have 2 books that are going to come out before Adverse Effects. So the first is going to be 3 Wild Months, the 3rd book in the Tommy Wild series. And then we're going to rock Straw Man, which I wrote completely live on stream about a month ago. That book is killer. It's awesome. And then it's going to be Adverse Effects. But those 2 other books have already been completed. I just need to edit them, get them out, and, work out the nitty-gritty. But back to my story about hot coffee, because for some reason I cannot handle warm liquids, or even moderately hot liquids. I can't do it, man. Like, it's going to burn my mouth off, so I have to wait. But there was this woman years and years and years ago, and she was in McDonald's, and she went through the drive-thru, and the coffee she was given, long story short, she spilled on herself, and it burned her, and she sued McDonald's. And everyone cites this story. Okay, and there's another parallel story to this. One of them was a person who was in a phone booth, and they were I don't know. This was back in the day before the only people, like nowadays, only 2 types of people use phone booths, like drug dealers and pimps. That's it. Everyone else stays well clear of them. They cost 50 cents, by the way. Like, what the hell is that? It used to be a quarter. My whole life it was a quarter. I went to go use one the other day. My side job is pimp, and it was 50 cents. Couldn't use it. Didn't have enough money. Anyway, so a guy goes to a phone booth, and he's using the phone booth, and a car collides with the phone booth and kills him. Okay? Well, I don't know. Maybe injures him. Whatever. And he sues, not the driver, but the cell phone, phone booth company. I think it was Bell. I don't know. And so when people talk about how litigious a society the U.S. is, right, that's the common refrain, like this idea that, if you break into someone's house and you trip, then you could sue the owner of the house, all this kind of bullshit. I'm not a lawyer, by the way. Was a doctor, not a lawyer, but did my research. So these 2 parallel events, right? okay, not parallel events, but these two events were used as a as kind of case law, let's say, in order to prevent people or to put caps on what people can sue for when it comes in the U.S. in terms of suing companies. And lobbyists were all over this. But if you break down what actually happened in these cases, you have a little better perspective of what's going on here. Because initially you think, okay, that's horse shit. Why would you sue the telephone company because some guy, some asshole, hit you with their car while you're making a phone call? Why would you sue McDonald's? You shouldn't be able to sue McDonald's because you spilt your own coffee. But the details of these cases are, one, the woman was an elderly woman who specifically asked for a coffee that had ice in it or something like that so that it was not super hot. The second thing is the lid was not put on correctly, so when it was handed to her, the lid came off and she spilled and burned herself. Okay, you can see there. Maybe she got a little case there. Maybe, right? The phone booth one is even more. Welcome everybody who just joined, by the way. Yeah, I will be doing some writing in a bit. I gotta get through my stories though. The phone booth one will be even more alarming to you. So, prior to this incident, there were multiple complaints about the phone booth for two reasons. One is that it was too close to the road. It actually broke some city ordinances or whatever. By the way, I have no idea where these things happen. Let's just say USA. Let's say Florida, right? Because all this weird shit always happens in Florida. So, it was too close to the road, and the company that put up the booth was supposed to move it, and they never did. The second thing was the door was broken, and they had multiple complaints that once you were inside the phone booth, this is a nightmare, by the way, because these phone booths fucking smell based on, the clientele I already described to you. The phone booth, once inside, you could not get out. So this guy who was in the phone booth calling his mother, his grandmother, who was sick in bed, it was her, he had to call her because she was dying, and it was her dying wish to listen to her grandson's voice. I made that part up. But he goes in there, and he's on the phone. He sees this car coming, and he's like, oh, shit, Granny, I got to go. He hangs up the phone, and he can't get out of the phone booth. Can't get out. And that's when he gets hit by the car. That's where we're going today. So when you hear these stories about, oh, you're suing McDonald's because your coffee too hot. What are you, some sort of snowflake? You're going to melt? Oh, you're going to sue the cell phone company because you couldn't get out of your phone booth? Well, maybe there's a little bit more detail to it. All this because my coffee cup didn't work because my coffee wasn't hot enough because I can't drink hot coffee. I'm going to bring that back to stories then. This is a good way to tell a story. I love shows and books that start with a seemingly unrelated problem, like a minor problem that has the potential to blow up, and then the reader or watcher is completely they're led to believe that it has no implication on the storyline, and then at the end that comes back and kapow, that ends up being like a super twist. So a good example of this is in American History X, which is one of my favorite movies. The whole interplay between the white I don't know the names, of course, this is me, right? The white supremacist son and the black kid at school, and that kind of feud. That feud is kind of like the ongoing storyline, right? It's race wars, that sort of thing. But that starts off at the beginning. It's downplayed to some degree, and then just as that, both the white supremacist Ed Norton and his son are making these changes to their lives and their beliefs, then that feud that happened at the beginning comes back, and spoiler alert, it ends up, they kill the kid. I don't know if it's son or brother. I don't know. So I love stories like that. I love those. You see part of the story, or in this case, part of the case when it comes to the coffee and then the phone booth. But as you learn more as the story goes on, then you come to appreciate there are different sides to it. So I think that's a great way to write any book. That's something I want to do. I don't think I've done that yet. I saw the new Guy Ritchie movie not too long ago. I think it was The Gentleman with Matthew McConaughey. Has anybody seen that? It wasn't really up to Guy Ritchie's standards, to be honest. But they had a twist like that too. The kid got thrown off the balcony, and believe it or not, this was kind of done in passing, and then that ends up coming back to haunt at the end. Like, that kid was connected, but it's not part of the main storyline. It's a happenstance during the course of the rest of the plot, and then it comes back to haunt them at the end. So I'm going to do that for one of my books for sure. Hey, I see all these people in the chat. This is Canada. I'm in Canada. You guys got to pay your chat tax. That's it. I'm going to bother you guys until you pay it. Your chat tax is you got to hit that like. Either you hit that like and or you tell me where you're from, where you're watching from right now. Not like work or the shitter. You got to tell me what city you're watching from, because I like to get a good idea of where my fans are at. I already told you that Canada hates me, so I assume that nobody's watching from Canada. I was looking at, yesterday I was reviewing kind of some of the stats from these live streams, and I was surprised to see that like 96% of people are from the U.S. I mean, I think Vanessa, who's often here, is from the UK, but most of you guys are tucked away in the U.S. I thought Australia. I want to get some Australians in here. I guess it's probably like 2 in the morning, though, for them. So we got Chicago. We got near Denver. We have Jacksonville. And look at this. Check it. There we go. Good old Montreal, Quebec, Canada. All right, guys. So today we're gonna work on adverse effects again. We are. Let me just check the word count. We put up some numbers this month. That's for sure. I had a bunch of ideas on my run. Let me switch over. There we go. So, excuse me. I had a whole whack of ideas on my run. Just little things I could add to the book, little nuances. I'm going to change this monthly word count. There we go. That I'm super excited about. Okay, this camera. That I'm super excited about. And in fact, this is what happens. I go on my run. Even last night before I went to bed, I was watching more Killing Eve. There's some fantastic lines. The way that they integrate comedy into that show is excellent. Excellent. One of the best for sure. But listen, I was thinking about last night some different ideas, and I was like, oh my God, I got to write them down. I got to do a little bit of work. I got to put my little, chapter headings like you see here. Get to call Kalal from Dunbar. But I didn't. And I was really afraid I was going to forget everything. So a little trick to you guys, if you're studying for something or if you're you want to remember something, if you review it right before bed, then you're obviously memory consolidation happens when you sleep mostly, so you're more likely to remember it. So literally, I'm doing a mantra in my head. It's weird. Make some weird dreams. My wife thinks I'm weird too. Why are you saying Jimmy in your sleep? Who's Jimmy? Are you cheating on me with Jimmy? No, I don't think so. So I'll do it now. Just so you know I'm not cheating. I'm doing this whole book here. I'll get to you in a second there, Ray. Hold on a second. Jimmy. Mr. Oh, fuck. Horace. All right. Okay. Yeah, Ray asks, I feel like a radio show host here. Ray asks, so I haven't read any Tommy Wild books, but I read the last Drake book, and there was Tommy mentioned at the end. If I remember correctly, is this the same character? Yes, it is. So Tommy actually was mentioned all the way back at the beginning, I think, of Drake's series. I think the second book, Cause of Death. I'm pretty sure I mentioned Tommy in that. And then Tommy comes up again in the Beckett series. So he was really good friends with Beckett, and Beckett was the one. Okay, I'll give you a brief synopsis of Tommy. This is very brief. He's a super smart guy. I think he had a PhD in like biochemistry and maybe even another PhD. He was in school. He got fed up. Guess my life story. He was in school and he got fed up with the bureaucracies and like just academia in general. So he decided to leave. And Beckett convinced him to use his biochemistry knowledge to start a crime scene cleanup company. For you guys who don't know, and I hope you don't know, but what happens is after the police leave a crime scene, especially if it's something, if there's a lot of blood or bodily fluids, or let's say like you have a messy crime scene. Imagine like a murder scene, right? And someone was murdered and you own the home, or that was your family member, unfortunately. Once the police leave and they take all of the evidence, it's up to you to clean that shit up. Like, the police are not going to come in and be like, oh, fuck, okay, we're going to, we'll take all these dirty sheets. Maybe they will for evidence, but the rest are like, oh, we'll fix your carpet. We'll replace your broken door. No, that's on you as the homeowner, and hopefully your insurance covers it. I think some insurance does. I don't know. I should double check that. But most of the time, you're going to hire a company that specializes in biohazardous waste removal and crime scene cleanup. So obviously in some places like New York, where Tommy and Drake are from, there's a lot of crime. So it means a lot of crime scene cleanup. So Beckett convinces him to start this crime scene cleanup company, and he does. And it's just a small little company that he runs kind of out of his truck, and he's got a storage locker. His brother calls him one day and says, I need your help. His brother's a little bit of a degenerate, and he says, I need your help. Tommy goes to help him, and this sets him on this path of really into a world that he has no idea existed. There's mobsters. There is... Oh, wow. Okay, cool. I'll check that out. So I've never seen that, but yeah, it's about crime scene cleanup, and it's about how basically this guy goes from running a one-person shop to, I don't know, I want to say taking over the world. I'm full of hyperbole today, so he just rules the universe. He's emperor of the world. So yeah, that's pretty much his story. He comes up at Tommy Wild books. He's in this Adverse Effects. He's got his own series. The books are short, punchy. They're cliffhangers. They're very little... They're more in the style. I've talked about this week already. They're more in the style of a TV series as opposed to kind of an introspective novel. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of character development. In fact, the whole storyline is his change, is his character arc. So think like Breaking Bad. It's kind of like Breaking Bad in a way. So if you like Breaking Bad, I'm sure you'd love this Tommy Wild series. And it's just getting started, man. I have 4 books planned. Business takes over. So far, sales have not been great of that series. Come on, guys. Give Tommy some life. But I'm committed to 4, which is a pretty substantial commitment. And if by the fourth, things are selling well, the world is back to normal, I could put out books on a regular schedule and not piss you guys off with pushing deadlines, then I'll continue that series. All right. And it's Sunshine Cleaning. Yeah, check it out, man. I think the first one is on, they're all in Kindle Unlimited, and I think the first one is super cheap. Might just be $1. I don't remember. That's another thing too. When I run sales or like free promotions, and I often do this when I put out a new book in like the Drake series, man, it's a pain in the ass. I have to set every price for all the other books for every region. Hey, first world problems, am I right? All right, so that was cold now. Oof. I'm gonna check that out right now. That you called it, or you said it was called Sunshine Cleaning. Hey-o, yep, Thrilligans. Thank God it's Friday. Anybody have any big plans this weekend? I know today I'm getting outside and having a cocktail, maybe a cigar, because the weather here is supposed to be gorgeous. And All right, all right, all right. And tomorrow it's a big UFC event, so I'm gonna be checking out the UFC tomorrow. Hundo P. Okay, let's watch this trailer then, guys. You want to check it out? I'm gonna see how it compares to Tommy Wild. Okay, wrong button. I better not get a copyright strike for this, by the way. All right, so quality is just Terry.
All right, how do I look? Good. Yeah. Love you. Don't tell him any more lobster man stories. He had nightmares all week.
He hears this horrible sound, snap. He knows that lobster man is out there, and he's totally screwed.
Emily Blunt too? I never heard. How come I've never heard of this?
Because it's our first visit, we did the blinds and the appliances, and nobody
Oh. So, by the way, people ask me that like who I would picture as Chase Adams, and Emily Blunt comes up time and time again. So, if anybody has her on a speed dial, get her on the books.
Cheerleading squad junior year. God, you know, I was always so envious of you. Head cheerleader, dating the quarterback. So, what are you doing now?
Hey, you know, I was working this scene today where this guy offed himself in the sporting goods store. So they brought this cleaning crew in.
He's over here and fishing too.
It's gross.
It's a racket. You ought to get into that.
You think you can make a ton of cash cleaning up after dead people?
If you don't have a job and you really want to live with Dad for the rest of your life, all we have to do is go in there and throw everything away.
Oh my god.
And it just takes love getting used to. Great, now we're gonna have to clean that up too. We took all that stuff away and we made it better.
The girls have gone into their own business.
Sunshine clean.
Since 1963,
It gives it a sense of stability. I like that.
it's a lie.
Yeah, but it's a business lie. It's not the same as a life lie.
Hi, Mac, it's me.
What are you calling here for?
He's never gonna leave her.
Okay, all right. We kind of lost me at this part, but
Want me, not date me or marry me, but want me.
You're better than them, Rose.
Would you like me to sit with you?
all right, okay, all right, all right. That took a turn, unexpected turn. I gotta say though. Okay, get out of here. I have to say though that that whole I guess a lot of people don't know about that. That you have to hire someone to clean up your place after a crime's committed. So yeah, that's kind of a lot along the lines of what Tommy does. Okay, not with the old lady and not with he doesn't have the same rapport with some of the victims, let's say. Yeah, it's my eldest daughter's 9th birthday tomorrow, so we're gonna do drive-through, I think, drive-in theater, drive-through. Yeah, we're going to McDonald's drive-through. No, drive-in theater, because nothing else is open. Oh man, I didn't know UFC started early. Okay, maybe I won't watch that then if I'm gonna be doing the birthday stuff. All right, cool. This is what I need you guys for. Keep my schedule. Yeah, so if you like that movie and you want maybe a different perspective, a more like tied into the New York City mob, maybe the Russian mob, I don't know, just saying. And the drug trade, everything gets tied up in the crime scene cleanup. All right, okay. So I just put a note here. Sorry, I'm mucking with the microphone. I just put a note here. So Jimmy and Horace. Chase sees the video, goes to speak to Jimmy. Okay, so I know exactly what that means. That's all I need. yesterday, where we left off, we had a couple revelations. One, actually, Chase didn't really have a revelation. Chase found out that the girls who committed suicide may or may not have been taken. Misclick. May or may not have been taking something to help them exceed in school, let's say. Then we had Dunbar and Floyd. They went to the pharma company that the father of one of the suicide girls was on the board of directors for. And they found out that this pharma company used to be massive, but now it was just one like small shack that was kept open only because the FDA made them. And it was manned by a woman with a mustache who literally didn't want to get up from her chair and just walked like that. You know that annoying thing that people, like I used to work in the hospital, but you know, we had our open area lab space, and people would walk on their desk, like they would be on a rolly chair, and they would just kind of not be so lazy they didn't want to get up from the rolly chair and just fucking waddle. That's what this woman did. And anyway, then she told them that, hey, there was a lawsuit, and they're looking for evidence of these monoclonal antibodies used to treat cancer. They don't find any evidence. Instead, they take some pictures of the case or the reason why they ended up going from a big company to a small company. And so Floyd thinks that it's a good idea to take pictures of that, and he does, and la voila. And it has something to do with nootropics. So if you guys aren't familiar with nootropics, it's kind of a class of drugs that are used often in Wall Street, Silicon Valley, basically to improve brain function. There's a whole bunch of different classes. I'm not going to get into each one of them, but generally they are, like modafinil is one, L-theanine, an amino acid, is one. There's piracetam, all these TAMs, blah blah blah. And so the company was doing some studies on those drugs when they got shut down, and it has to do with the lawsuit that ensued because of that. Ray, don't worry about the questions, my man. I love it. We get some chat involvement here. Are we gonna get a story involving Chase's ex-husband and son? Wait, is he her ex or estranged? Can't remember. I'll answer the first part. Yes. So in this book, she talks a little bit about her son, but my plan is for, in a future book, for Chase to actually go to Sweden and because there is a crime related to her son and ex-husband. And so there will be a book about that. Is it? I can't remember if they're actually divorced. They're definitely estranged. I can't remember if I think there was some paperwork that she signed in one of the books. Maybe in Painted Ladies. Not entirely sure. Doesn't really matter though. So yeah, no, they're gone, but not forgotten. They'll come back. Right now, as you'll see though, she has her hands full with her niece, with Georgina, her sister's daughter. And that kind of is what takes center stage here. I think in some ways Chase is trying to make up for how she mangled her relationship with her own son by raising Georgina, but occasionally when parents try too hard, they just end up failing even worse. So it's those super overprotective parents. They want to be, I don't want anything ever happen to my kid. I don't want them to get a bloody nose or a boo-boo or a bruise. And so they just super overprotect them. They think they're doing the right thing, but obviously, kids mucking about is part of the maturation process and growing up. Parenting tips. There you go. Yeah, so I hope that answers your questions. And Floyd is actually coming into his own a little bit. He is more, excuse me. he is more confident now because he's actually seeing some positive results from his investigative work. Oh yeah. So Chase is now going to meet up with them back at the shop, and they need Leroy. Now you know why I don't type anymore. So, Ray, I think you said that you read all the Drake books? And so there are a lot of crossovers in this story. Not so much Drake. Drake is not going to appear in this book for a variety of reasons. One, because he's off on his own case. And two, just because I don't want to detract from Chase. And I think that Drake is such a large personality that will happen. That will be the result. Instead, she's at DSLH, but she's speaking to Screech. And Screeches only have a little bit of a passing role so far. But now they're going to get Leroy involved because they need Leroy's expertise in chemistry. All right, so again, I have more notes here just that I made yesterday. All right. Some of that's going to change for sure. But we're definitely getting to the meat of the action here. Dude, this fucking cat. I'm telling you, man, this cat is killing me. Week and a half removed, I'm still sniffling. Open quote. What the hell is a nootropic? Question mark. Close quote. Chase demanded as soon as she stepped through the open. Chase demanded as soon as she stepped through the DSLH into DSLH investigations, period to paragraph, open quote. That's what I asked, comma, close quote, Dunbar said from behind the desk, period to paragraph. She was happy to see that Floyd was standing behind Dunbar, comma, his arms crossed over his chest, comma, his pose and posture authoritative, period to paragraph, open quote. Brain drugs, comma. Been around for a while, but they've only come into popularity over the last 5-6 years, comma, maybe, period. Used by Silicon Valley geeks and Wall Street pros, period, close quote, in a paragraph, open quote. Chase took off her jacket and tossed it on the rack beside the door as she made her way over to Floyd and Dunbar, period, in a paragraph, open quote. So you guys go to the pharmaceutical company headquarters to find about monoclonal antibodies, comma, and instead you come up with this? Question mark. Nootropics? Question mark. Brain drugs? Question mark. Close quote. All of a sudden, comma, Chase stopped speaking and froze mid-step, period to paragraph, open quote. What? Question mark. What is it? Question mark. Close quote to paragraph. Open quote, Jimmy, comma, close quote, she said softly, comma, replaying the conversation she'd had with the high school kid behind the pizza joint, period, new paragraph, open quote, what about him, question mark, close quote, new paragraph. Chase shook her head and reanimated, period, new paragraph, open quote. Jimmy said that she heard a rumor that the girls were taking something to help them study, period, close quote, new paragraph. Floyd and Dunbar exchanged glances, period to paragraph, open quote. What? Question mark. Why are you looking at each other like that? Question mark, close quote, to paragraph. open quote, because, dot, 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 close quote. Dunbar leaned back up to his computer and typed away at the keyboard, period. Then he said, comma, open quote, because the pharmaceutical company that Madison's father was on the board of, question mark, it shut down about 2 years ago because of a lawsuit related to brain drugs, period. We're still looking into the details, comma, but it looks like M dash close quote in a paragraph. Dunbar suddenly froze, comma, reminiscent of what Chase had just done moments ago, appearing in paragraph. Chase hurried over to the man, comma, and grabbed him by the shoulder to wake him up, period in paragraph, open quote. Stop playing games, comma, Dunbar, period. What is it? Question mark, close quote in a paragraph. Dunbar didn't say anything. Instead, he just pointed at the screen, period in paragraph. Annoyed, comma, Chase hunched down and squinted, period in paragraph. It didn't take her long to find out what Dunbar had set Dunbar off, period in paragraph. About partway down what looked like some sort of official form, comma, was a list of adverse effects. And it was the first on the list, comma, the one that was bolded that stood out to her, colon. Suicidal tendencies, period in paragraph, open quote. What the fuck? Question mark, close quote in paragraph. Chase shook her head, comma, wondering if she was just imagining these words, period. She wasn't, period, open quote. What is this, question mark? What is this form? Question mark, close quote in paragraph, open quote. This is the results of the phase 2 clinical trial on Verdant's new brain drug. Hey, I need a name for a brain drug. Chat, you think you can help me out here? What would be a cool name for a brain drug? Not a trade name though. It's got to be like a compound name. Holy Jesus! So not like acetaminophen. No, more like acetaminophen. No, maybe not. It could be okay. It could be any name. It could be like what you would call a brain drug, but let's make it sound a little bit chemically, because it's gonna be patented, so they have a patented trade name. Yeah, you guys help me out with that, please. Cerebrum. Oh, that is great, fantastic. I love it. I love it. All right. I'm giving a thumbs up to Cerebrum. Anybody else? Go ahead. Put your thoughts there. Ray, I'll get you a question after I'm done, my man. I'm in the zone, brah. Dunbar informed her, period, open quote. They were testing the compound on normal, comma, healthy people, comma. To develop dose response curves, comma, understand clearance times, comma, that sort of thing, period. But it looks like they had to stop it early because of a dot dot dot. Well, you see there, comma, suicidal tendencies, period, close quote in the paragraph. Chase couldn't believe their luck, period. It seemed like they were finally getting somewhere on this case, period. But there were still some square pegs that refused to fit in the round hole, period, in paragraph, open quote. Do you have a list of all the... How many people were enrolled in the trial? Question mark. Close quote in the paragraph. Dunbar scrolled up a little bit. to reveal the information, period, new paragraph, open quote. 12, comma, but it looks like 3 of them withdrew for unrelated reasons, period. Oh, comma, check this out, comma. This is a list of the most common side effects, period, close quote, in a paragraph. Dunbar highlighted a table within the document, period. On the left, you had the indication, and on the right, you had the number of instances, period. By far, the most common one was diarrhea, comma, which was suffered by all 9 of the patients that made it to the end of the trial, period. The next was headache by 2 people, comma. But the most important one, comma, was the major adverse event of suicidal tendencies, period. Which, comma, as far as she could tell, comma, only happened in 1 person, period. Close quote. Okay. New paragraph. All 3 of them remained silent for several seconds as they processed the information they just received, period, new paragraph. To Chase, comma, Chase started considering the possibility that Mr. Madison had somehow taken these drugs and given them to his daughter, comma. But that didn't explain the presence of monoclonal antibodies in their blood, period, new paragraph. Open quote. I don't get it, comma, close quote, Floyd said at last, period. Open quote. New paragraph, open quote. Me neither, comma, close quote, Chase muttered, period, new paragraph. Open quote. Why do they have these monoclonal antibodies in their blood, comma, antibodies used to treat a rare brain tumor, question mark. What does that have to do with these nootropics, question mark, close quote. Dunbar asked, comma, verbalizing what Chase was thinking and what she suspected Floyd was thinking as well, period, new paragraph, open quote. They didn't do any research on brain drugs, question mark. Look. Monoclonal antibodies? Question mark. Verdant Pharmaceuticals, comma, I mean, question mark, close quote. Chase asked, period, new paragraph. Floyd produced a sheet of paper from a folder on the desk, period, new paragraph, open quote. They did, comma, but only some very rudimentary research, comma, never went anywhere, period. Apparently, comma, they pivoted a few years ago and moved from researching brain cancer and other malignancies to memory enhancement and brain performance, period. Not so much of a stretch, comma, I guess, comma. At least it's in the same general region, period, close quote, in paragraph. Chase started to shake her head as she contemplated this further, period, in paragraph, open quote. Man, comma. But are nootropics similar to monoclonal antibodies? Question mark, close quote. New paragraph. Floyd shrugged, period, new paragraph, open quote. To be honest, comma, the only reason I know about them is because a couple of the FBI recruits were talking about them, period. I'm at the limits of my biology knowledge, period, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Is there anybody in the FBI that can help us out? Question mark. Anybody in the NYPD? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph. Both Floyd and Dunbar seemed to contemplate this for a moment, comma, but eventually came up empty and shrugged, period, in paragraph, open quote. What about someone at Verdant, question mark, can they help us? Question mark, close quote, in paragraph. Again, comma, more blank stares, period, in paragraph, open quote. No, comma, there's only one woman who works there, and I use that term loosely, comma, close quote, Dunbar said, period, open quote, and she wasn't much help, period, close quote, in the paragraph. Open quote. There has to be somebody. Well, we're going to have to find somebody, comma, because I don't understand M dash close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Leroy, comma, close quote. A voice said, comma. From behind Chase, period, new paragraph. Even though it was coming from far back in DSLH investigations, comma, she was so startled by the presence of another person, comma, that she felt her skin go cold, period. She turned slowly, comma, her hand instinctively reaching for her gun, star, period. The paragraph. She was surprised to see Screech at his computer typing away. Screech sitting at Drake's wooden desk, comma, looking up at her, period. The paragraph, open quote. Was he here the whole time? Question mark. Did he just arrive and I didn't notice him? Question mark. New paragraph. Chase blinked rapidly, comma, but Screech's presence remained, period. New paragraph. How did I miss him? Question mark. New paragraph. Open quote. What about Leroy? Question mark. Close quote. Floyd asked, period. New paragraph. Open quote. The man is like a genius when it comes to this shit, period. Biochemistry. His expertise is in biochemistry, comma, but I'm sure he knows what you're talking about, period. Want me to give him a ring? Question mark. Close quote in the paragraph. Chase just stared, comma, trying to figure out exactly when Screech had arrived, comma, and why she hadn't noticed him before, period in the paragraph. It reminded her of her long-term drug use, comma, of the blackouts she used to have, period. Only then, comma, it wasn't just not seeing a person who was obviously right in front of her as she'd entered the office, comma, it was huge blocks of time, comma, sometimes as much as 2 or 3 days that completely erased from her memory, period in paragraph. And based on what she know that had happened, comma, about what had happened with Tyler Tisdale in the trap house, comma, she was grateful for this lapse, period in paragraph. But now, question mark in the paragraph. Chase shook her head, comma, trying desperately to clear her thoughts, period. It didn't matter why she hadn't seen him, comma, the only thing that mattered was finding out if these drugs were the reason why these girls tried to commit suicide, period in paragraph. And if so, comma, getting them hell off the street before others tried them, period in paragraph. Open quote. Yeah, comma, get him here, period. Get him here as fast as you can, comma, close quote, Chase said, comma, trying but failing to keep the desperation out of her voice, period. All right, just pushing some stuff back here. Boom. It's getting spicy. It's getting spicy up in here. We got some adverse effects. You know, I'm cheesy like that. I absolutely love when the title. In this case, it's obvious the title's going to show up, but I love when books put the title in their somewhere in the text, like it comes up, and I've done that a few times. It's like, oh, that's it. That's where the title came from. Yeah. It's like a secret you let onto it. Someone let you in on a big secret. All right. Ray, who are some of the authors you read and inspire you? I am a sucker for indie authors. I read a lot of indie authors. Some of my favorites right now are Lex Vargas and Tim McBain. Absolutely love everything they do. I had her on a couple weeks ago. We had an awesome talk. It's called After Hours, so I think it's archived on Facebook. I highly recommend that you go and check that out. We had a lot of fun. The other authors I read, I liked Mary Stone I read recently, and Fraser has a new one called Find Me, and that one was fantastic, like super, super dark. What else? Oh, Brian, I mentioned yesterday, Brian Shea and L.T. Ryan, the Hatch series I've been reading. I get a lot of inspiration from TV shows. I love British crime dramas. I try to emulate their style a little bit in my writing. So right now it's Killing Eve that I'm watching. Fantastic show. Can't rave about it enough. Just the way they implement humor in that is excellent. Historically, I like the show Hannibal, The Fall, The Killing. Those are like gritty detectives, like Luther. Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm reading, watching. That's what inspires me. I have to admit though, like a lot of my ideas just come from everyday life. I'll just think of something wacky. When it came to Beckett, that's what I would do. I think of something like super wacky. I'd be like, what if? Yeah, a lot of what ifs, right? But I'd be like, what if this happened? I'm like, oh my god, that would be so insane. That'd be so ridiculous. And if it was off the wall, then I'd be like, that's a Beckett story. And if it was more mundane, maybe mundane's the right word, but if it was more toned down, I'm like, oh, that would make a good mystery. I could see that being a good mystery. Then I'd be like, boom. So, for instance, if you want to know where inspiration of this, I'm indicating the screen, but I got to do it the wrong way. So, if you want to know where the inspiration for this book came from, it really, I have a strong interest in these nootropics in general. I talked to a bunch of writer friends a while back and asked them if they knew about it and if they've tried them and that sort of thing. And they just, it really interests me, this idea of like supercharging your brain. It's not much different, I guess. I was listening to a guy talk the other day about consuming liver, like animal liver, and how if you've never eaten it before or you're kind of depleted on some minerals, iron, that sort of thing that you're not aware of, and you eat liver, especially raw liver, then, you know, it could supercharge your brain. Like, you feel a great buzz. You'll have more active imagination, blah, 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 blah. You know, all that kind of shit. And so it's kind of like that, being able to supercharge your brain. As a side note, when I was a kid, my mom used to cook liver, like, with mushrooms and bacon. And, like, listen, bacon is the bomb, but it can only hide liver so much. But she would tell me that it was fucking steak. For a long time, I was like, I hate steak. So she corrupted me, man. I love steak now. It's the greatest food on earth. If I could eat one food for the rest of my life, it's steak. But for a long time, I was like, man, steak is just gross, bro. It's nasty. But it was actually liver. Anyway, so I have this interest in nootropics, of understanding how they work, how they can be used safely. And so my idea was, what if someone took that a little bit too far? I don't want to spoil anything here, guys, but that's where this idea came from. Clearly, the title lends itself to that. I thought of the title a long time ago. I get the cover done, and then I rock and roll. So that's basically what I had. I had an idea about these girls committing suicide, and somehow nootropics are involved. And that's literally what happened in my brainstem. Okay, not the brainstem, the cortex, cerebral cortex. And then when I popped a few cerebrums, just kidding, doesn't exist, then I felt, I felt this inspiration. That's where I went. And that's it, man. I just sit in front of the computer and I chat with you guys 99.999999% of the time when I should be working. And then I hop back over there and I just pump out a chapter. At this point, this is Chase's 8th book. Well-established character, so I know how she behaves. I know how she reacts. And so it's fairly easy for me to just throw her in the situation and let Chase kind of work her way out using her unique personality and set of skills. Man, I got to change this so I don't have the mirror effect. All right, hope I answered your question. That's the thing, man. You open a can of worms. When you ask me a question, I can't do the yes, no. I'm going to tell you a story about liver, my mom tricking me. I wonder if my brothers remember that. Maybe they still think that mom was feeding us steak the whole time. All right. Who's to know? I think we can get back at it real quick because, like I said, I'm going to enjoy the weather. We got time. I'm going to bring Leroy in. You do? Okay, Andy remembers that. Cool. I'm going to bring Leroy in. Hey, no problem, my man. Thanks for the questions. Listen, it's a lot easier when I get answer questions. When I answer questions, I mean, otherwise I'm just talking to myself. And don't get me wrong, I'm the smartest person I know, but every once in a while I can get a bit boring. Yeah. So in addition to the bacon and onions, you just had to put on like fucking a metric ton of ketchup to make it kind of taste palatable. Liver. Although now I'm a little bit more experimental in my food choices, and I think I would go back to it. I would love to try to eat brain, like calf brain or something. There's not really a food that I wouldn't try per se. I think I would have a hard time eating like sheep eyeballs, but I would give brain a try. I've had sweetbreads before, which is the thymus gland, or it can be brain, but I had the thymus gland, and that was pretty good. Tastes like super rich chicken nuggets. Yeah, after watching Hannibal, the TV show, dude, his epic meal creations, it's I don't want to say that it made me want to eat those sort of things, because clearly it was just fucking cannibal eating human body parts, but he did some creative things with like lung. I've never tried lung. Like basically nothing goes to waste with that guy. Just unwilling both guests, ignorant and unwilling guests at times, and also meal providers, let's say. All right. Yeah, for me, the weirdest thing I've eaten is like lobster eyeballs is pretty weird. They're like hella crunchy. Not very good. What's the weirdest thing that you guys eaten? No weird meat for you? So you're just like a steak and bacon kind of gal? That's okay. I can respect that. But hey, it's about experiencing new things. I like sushi. I like raw meat. I got to post the pictures. Maybe I can find them on my phone. A couple of months ago, like in June, I ended up buying at an absurd cost A5 Japanese Wagyu steak. Just a small piece. Just a small piece of Wagyu steak, like very thin and like about that big. I don't know how many grams it was. Maybe like 200 grams or something like that. It was like you touch it and it's like an oil slick. It's so fatty. I seared it in the cast iron and like literally 2 minutes each side. That's it. No oil, no butter, because as soon as you put it in the hot pan, it just that fat melts and it cooks in its own fat, renders. And I sliced it up super thin, and we had it as an appetizer, and it was amazing. I just put salt on it as well. No pepper, nothing. Fantastic. One of the best things I ever put in my mouth. But it was just an experience I'll never forget. But yeah, I'm open to trying new meats. I like raw. I know I was going with that. I like raw, rare meat. I made for my wife and my 12th anniversary. Although the kids say, "Oh, it's mummy's." This is what happened. Lengua tacos. Oh, that's got to be tongue, right? I don't know. Well, I don't know what the lengua is. Sounds like tongue though. Langue in French. So for my wife's and my anniversary, which awesome, like kids are like, "Oh, it's mummy's anniversary today." I was like, "Okay, like there are two people involved." And it was our 12-year anniversary. I made a ridiculous meal. I made beef tartare from scratch, everything from scratch. Beef tartare. I made my own feta cheese. It was the bomb. So we had like a feta and beet salad to start. Well, and then beef tartare. And then I made my own lobster ravioli. Made the pasta. Come on. First time I ever made pasta. And I don't have a pasta mixer, so I had to use it by hand. But I made, and the girls helped me. All my girls helped me for sure. And I made, and then for dessert, I made sous vide cheesecakes. Killed it. But I love carpaccio. I love tartare. I love raw tuna, that sort of stuff. There's something animalistic about it in a good way. Something just visceral about eating raw meat. Yeah, beef tongue. I've had tongue before for sure. Veal tongue tacos I've had. Fantastic. It's a hard. I've never cooked tongue before. It's a very difficult muscle to cook. I think you have to take off the outer layer and then really, really cook it for a long period of time. I am my favorite method of cooking, and I use it for almost everything, is sous vide. So you guys who don't know what that means, it means under vacuum in French, but basically you have this device that heats up water in a, I know it sounds like a stove, but just wait. It heats up water in any vessel you want. So you put water, for me I have these Tupperware things, or depending on the size of the food I'm cooking, you put in a pot, a big pot, and this like sort of wand thing, okay, no screenshots guys, but it's long like this, about 6 inches long, and it goes into a pot, and it heats up the water to whatever temperature you want it to be, like exactly that temperature. And then you put your meat or your food in a vacuum sealed bag, and you drop it in there, and you wait for however long, depending on the cut of meat. And when you take it out, your meat will be exactly the temperature that the water was. So not when you cook something in boiling water, let's say don't do this, but if you were to boil a steak, right, and you left your steak in the boiling water, eventually your steak would be 100 degrees, right, Celsius, 212 Fahrenheit. It would be 212 Fahrenheit. It would just basically acquire the temperature of the water, because everything is going to be equal, and that's terrible. So when you're cooking like chicken in the oven, and I mean, you're calling for 165. This came like cooking hour with Logan all of a sudden. If you were to put your thermometer in, which I highly recommend always using a thermometer, into your chicken, and then you put it in the oven, and when it hits 165 and you pull it out, you got to pull it out. I can't get 1 second more. It's going to be dry as fuck. 1 second under, you're going to get sick. You're going to get E. coli or salmonella. So, like, you got to race the bullshit like that. And if you kept it in the oven for long enough, it just becomes the temperature of the oven. So you have chicken that would be 350 degrees or whatever you set your oven at, which is garbage, right? But when you have this sous vide, I lost somebody here. All right, gotcha. So when you have this sous vide, the meat will become the temperature of the water. So when you say medium rare, well done, whatever, those are actually temperature definitions. And so for me, I love my steak at 131, which is medium rare. You will have your perfectly cooked steak. And unlike traditional methods like oven or cast iron or however, barbecue, you won't have that gradient of doneness that you'll always see when you cut it open, because heat will have to start from the outside and work its way in. So the center may be medium rare, but you'll have that gradation of, then as you get towards the outside, you'll have medium, and then you have well done, and so on. So with sous vide, you'll have the perfectly cooked piece of meat every single time. Caveat: when you take it out of the bag, it'll look like microwave wheat. It'll look terrible. But then you just sear it on the cast iron and you're golden. So that's the way I like to cook almost everything. That's how I make my own cheese in that. I cook my beef. I've done the cheesecakes. I've done everything sous vide, man. I highly recommend it. It's great when you're hosting a lot of people prior to this pandemic, because you could leave it in the bath for like 1 hour or 4 hours. It's never going to change. So when you're like, the sides aren't ready, the potatoes are still not cooked, and meanwhile the steak is done and you have to rush, you don't have to do that when it comes to sous vide. All right, so Anova or Joule, who make the sous vide wands, let's say, please hit me up, because I just, pumped your product. Let's go. And that would be a good, instead of a crock pot, use sous vide for long cooks. I've cooked brisket, beef tenderloin, ribs. I'm going to do ribs this weekend. Ribs might be the perfect food, I think, other than like a ribeye steak. Okay, so that's it. Cooking hour with Logan is done, completed. We got to go back and do a little bit of writing. Like my job, writing. All right, okay. We're going back at it. Let's do it. Oh. Yeah, so this always happens. Whenever I write those little notes, like I'm just breaking up the ideas over a course of a few chapters, but I never get to it in that chapter. So then I just keep pushing it down, pushing it down, pushing it down. And then by the end it's got like 400 words of shit I was supposed to write that I never did. Stories take on a mind of their own. Can't stop thinking about food now. Get hungry. What time is it? Yep. Yep. It's about that time. Okay. No distractions. Where was I? Okay, we had Leroy coming in, but I wanted Chase to go do something. What was Chase supposed to go do? All right, so I want Chase to go visit. I think she might go visit Mr. Madison again. I think that's what's going to happen. Chase is going to go visit Mr. Madison. And meanwhile, Leroy's going to come explain that. So we're going to do... She's going to visit him with the intention of figuring out who these people were that entered the trial. I used to work, as you guys know, used to. There's no hard stop there. Hold on a second. I still work. I used to run the preclinical trial clinic at the hospital. So it's preclinical, but I have a really good understanding of how clinical trials work and how they function. And particularly with the FDA, even though I'm in Canada because I did a lot of consulting work. And there's like zero chance you're going to be able to find out who the study participants were. Obviously, that stuff is very closely guarded. But I think Chase can extract that from Mr. Madison, and that's what's going to happen. Even though Chase had seen Leroy when she first arrived at DSLH Investigations, she was still having a difficult time coming to grips with the man she saw before him now. Her now, period. Dressed in just a muscle shirt despite the cool weather and his skin glistening with sweat, Leroy had gone from a kid who was hiding his scrawny frame behind baggy clothes, to one that was a man with thick muscles. Period, new paragraph. Open quote. Hey guys, close quote, he said as he walked into DSLH and plopped the gym bag in his hand down, period, new paragraph. What can I help you with? Question mark. Close quote. New paragraph. Open quote. Chase and her team have a couple of questions about some drugs they'd want to ask you about, period. Close quote, new paragraph. Floyd's expression suddenly faltered, period, new paragraph, open quote. Drugs, question mark? I don't know anything about drugs, question mark. Period, close quote. As he said this, his eyes drifted from Chase and Screech, over to Dunbar, period, new paragraph, open quote. Not like that, Leroy, period. They want to know about some biochemistry of certain drugs, period. Nootropics and monoclonal antibodies, period, close quote, new paragraph. Even though it was hard for the heavily muscled man's body to deflate, it appeared as if it did just that, as a sigh of relief. As he uttered a sigh of relief, period, to paragraph, open quote. Shit, you never know, you can never be too careful as a black man in New York City when asked about drugs, period, close quote, to paragraph. He's not wrong about that, Chase thought, period, to paragraph, open quote. Nootropics, huh? Open quote. And monoclonal antibodies used to treat glioblastoma, close quote. Dunbar said, period, to paragraph. Leroy raised an eyebrow, period, to paragraph, open quote. Interesting combination, period. Close quote. Leroy made his way over to the desk and naturally took up to what Chase assumed was his desk, took the chair and wheeled it over to Dunbar, who was at the computer, period. New paragraph. Even though it was clear that he was just interrupted mid-workout, and he smelt slightly of sweat, it wasn't a wholly unpleasant smell, period, new paragraph. Open quote. What kind of nootropics we're talking? Question mark. Paracetam, Noopept, Cerebrum, period, close quote, in a paragraph, open quote. Never heard of it. Period. Is it part of the Racetam family? Leroy grinned and gently nudged Dunbar away from the computer, period to paragraph. Open quote. Give me a sec, let me check this out, period, close quote, in a paragraph. As Leroy did his thing on the computer, Dunbar leaned back in his chair and addressed Chase directly, period, new paragraph, open quote. It can't be a coincidence, comma, the fact that these girls committed suicide, comma, and that one of the drugs her father was working on at Verdant Pharmaceuticals had a side effect of suicidal tendencies, period, close quote, new paragraph. Chase was on the verge of agreeing with Dunbar, comma, but she didn't want to put all her eggs in one basket, period. Besides, comma, she'd seen enough drug advertisements to know that suicidal tendency was perhaps one of the most common side effects of just about any drug, period. New paragraph. That and diarrhea, comma, which was also indicated for cerebrum, period, new paragraph, open quote. I want to talk to these trial participants first, period, close quote. New paragraph, open quote. No chance, comma, close quote. Leroy offered, comma. His eyes still pointed at the computer screen, period. New paragraph, open quote. What do you mean? Question mark, close quote. New paragraph. Leroy turned to look at her, period. New paragraph, open quote. This isn't like who took out Mein Kampf at the library, comma. There's no list of people in this trial, period. At least none that you're going to have access to, period. Or me, period. Close quote in the paragraph. Open quote. I don't even think I could crack. What about Screech, question mark. Dunbar, question mark. They have access, M dash, close quote in the paragraph, open quote. No way, comma, close quote. Open quote. No way, comma, close quote. Dunbar said, period, open quote. It would take me months to gain access, comma, and even then, comma, I doubt I would be able to. Even if I were able to get a court order for Verdant Pharmaceuticals to open up their books, comma, and that's a big if, comma, it would take months, period. Close quote in a paragraph. The idea of sitting on this for months, comma, with a potentially lethal drug out there, comma, one that made kids looking to get an edge on their schoolwork commit suicide, comma, was simply out of the question, period. New paragraph, open quote. What about you, comma, Screech? Question mark. Think you can do your use your ... close quote. Chase tried to think of the correct word before just giving up, comma, open quote, ... less official means, question mark, close quote in a paragraph. Screech's face contorted, comma, and he looked to Dunbar, comma, but the man averted his eyes, a silent way of saying, I'm not listening, period, new paragraph, open quote. Open quote. I could try, comma, but to be honest, comma, my hacking skills weren't what they used to be, period. And hacking into the FDA, question mark, that might be take a while, period, close quote, in paragraph, open quote. Well, we don't have a while, comma, close quote. Chase snapped at no one in particular, period, new paragraph, open quote. There has to be some way of getting this information from somewhere, period, close quote, new paragraph. She thought about this for a second, period, open quote. You said that Verdant almost went under because of a lawsuit, comma, related to this case, period. If someone sued because of suicidal tendencies from this drug, comma, they're most likely going to be one of the participants, comma, no? Question mark, close quote in a paragraph. Chase thought that she'd found a loophole, comma, but Dunbar started to shake his head, and this dashed her hopes, period, to paragraph, open quote. Yeah, comma, I looked at the case, M dash, it's sealed, period. There was a settlement, comma, the details of which were not revealed, period. Not only that, comma, but the plaintiff was listed as a John Doe, period. It's completely anonymized, period. Close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Fuck, period, close quote, new paragraph. Open quote. I mean, comma, with the court order, M dash, close quote, new paragraph. Chase knew what the man was going to say and she waved him away, period, new paragraph. They just didn't have time, period. 3 days ago, 4 girls committed suicide, comma. 2 days ago, 1 girl committed suicide, comma. And yesterday, one of their teachers committed suicide, period, new paragraph. What was to come tomorrow, question mark. Would Jimmy and his friends try this new drug, question mark? Would they have a whole school full of dead kids, question mark, close quote. Open quote. There has to be some way of finding out, period. There has to be, M dash, close quote. Chase stopped mid-sentence, period. New paragraph, open quote. What? Question mark, close quote. Dunbar asked, period, new paragraph. Open quote. Maybe there is, comma, close quote. Floyd said, comma, speaking up for the first time in a while, period, new paragraph. All eyes were on the man, comma, and to Chase's surprise, he didn't flush and look away, period. Instead, comma, he held each of their gazes for a second or more before continuing, period, new paragraph, open quote. Mr. Madison might have access to that information. Period, close quote, paragraph. Chase felt her spirits lifting, period, paragraph. Open quote. He was one of the sponsors on the trial, comma, and on the board of directors, period. Close quote, paragraph. Open quote. Yeah, who is also bound by an NDA, comma, close quote. Dunbar spoke up. Dunbar piped up, period. Open quote. Even though Verdant might not be active, comma, if he breaks that NDA, comma, he'd be up for some serious opening himself up to some serious potential lawsuits, period. And, comma, given the fact that this is with the FDA, comma, maybe even some criminal charges, period, close quote, paragraph, open quote. Can't hurt to talk to him, period, close quote, paragraph. Chase started towards the door, comma, when she felt Dunbar staring at her, period, paragraph. She turned around and looked at the man, period, paragraph, open quote. Talk to him, question mark, close quote. The man asked, comma, his eyebrows lifting up, his forehead, period, paragraph, open quote. Just talk to him, period, close quote, paragraph, open quote. Chase, comma, I've spent the better part of a year trying to keep one of my friends out of prison, comma, the man whose initial is first on the door here, period. I don't want you to strong-arm M dash, close quote, paragraph, open quote. I'm a big girl, comma, daddy, period. I can make my own decisions, comma, close quote, Chase said, comma, applying a artificially high-pitched to her voice, period, paragraph, open quote. I'm just looking out for you, comma, Chase, period, close quote, paragraph. Chase's expression. Chase tone normalized, period, paragraph, open quote. I'm just going to talk to the man, comma, that's it, period, close quote, she said, period, open quote. Then to Floyd and Dunbar, comma, she added, comma, open quote. Leroy, let me know if you figure anything out about this brain drugs, comma, cerebellum or whatever it's called, period. Close quote, paragraph, open quote. Will do, comma, close quote. Floyd and Roy answered in unison, period, paragraph. With that, comma, fearful that Dunbar will continue to try to dissuade her, comma, Chase took the her jacket off the hook and slipped it on, period to paragraph. Then she stepped out into the waning sunlight, comma, and headed towards her car, period to paragraph. Just talk my ass, period. She thought as she slid behind the wheel, period. Mr. Madison is going to tell me the names of those people in the trial, comma. You can be sure of that, period. All right. Another killer chapter. Here we go. I'm pushing stuff back. I just thought of something as well that I meant to add. Yeah, so one second. Yeah. So I know why. So we're gonna have one chapter with Floyd and Leroy talking about the drugs. Okay, always fun. And then we're gonna have this one. Oh yeah, this is the one here. Yeah. Chase gets the video while speaking to Mr. Madison. All right, so we are definitely on track here, guys. We're speeding up. You guys who have read all my books and have watched me live stream this stuff, you know how I work. It starts slow. The book starts slow, especially the writing part. Maybe not the final draft. I always try to, like I said, cut out 10%, like get that clip, get that pace going. I like fast-paced books. And then when I start writing towards the end, like with Straw Man, dude, I was flying. Like the program was smoking. Dragon was breathing fire because I was like, that's most definitely gonna be the thumbnail for this fucking video, by the way. But yeah. So things speed up. They get crazy. They go fast. They go hard. I'm not gonna touch that one, but nature calls. So I'll be right back. Give me a second, guys. I'll be back. Itchy eyeball. Oh, okay. I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. You know, when nature calls. All right, where were we? So I'm debating whether to do the Chase chapter right now or to do the Leroy chapter with Floyd. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Like I said, I try not to get bogged down by this sort of thing. Just write it. If I got to change the order later, I got to change the order. Just like another like subtle procrastination. Same thing with part names, like what is part 2 called? What is part blah? It'll come out. It'll come out at the end. What are we rocking with today? We are only 2,500 words deep. Come on, bro. I say we get to. Can we get to 5? See, we get to 5,000 today. Before I take off. I'm thinking about coming back on this weekend, though. I know it's my daughter's birthday tomorrow, so I don't know if I'll be on tomorrow and the UFC fight. So I'm going to go with no, but maybe Sunday I'll come back. Sunday I'll come on and do another stream of this, of Adverse Effects. How are you guys enjoying the story so far? Are you digging it? It's a little bit different for from a little bit of a deviation for Chase, I guess, because normally she gets called into some, like the FBI gets called in often with like either high-profile murders or serial killers, that kind of shit, cross state lines. There's actually some criteria that needs to be met in order for the FBI to be called in, but let's be honest. If the local PD asks, FBI's coming in. Yeah, so it's a little bit different for Chase, but I felt like that was the case she had to come back to. If she was going to come back, it would be come back when it had to do with, again, it had to do with crimes against children, or in this case, teenagers, but something that reminded her of her sister, of herself, of Georgina, that sort of thing. So I think it's an important case for her to come back to. It looks to me like based on the chemical structure, cerebrum looks to be closely related to DMT, close quote, Leroy said as he pulled his face away from the computer monitor. Period of paragraph, open quote, DMT, question mark, close quote, Floyd asked, period. He wasn't familiar with the compound, as it hadn't come up with any of his discussions with his other classmates at the FBI, period of paragraph, open quote. Yeah, not a nootropic to say, per se, but a very powerful hallucinogen. Period, close quote in the paragraph. Floyd squinted. Period in the paragraph, open quote. And Leroy quickly elaborated, period, new paragraph, open quote, really one of the most powerful hallucinogens ever made, comma, dimethyltryptophan. Period. Close quote into paragraph. Floyd continued to stare blankly, period, into paragraph, open quote. Never heard of it, period, close quote into paragraph, open quote. Ever heard of ayahuasca? New paragraph. Once again, comma, Floyd shook his head, period, new paragraph. He looked to Dunbar, comma, but the man seemed equally as dumbfounded. Period, new paragraph, open quote. Leroy chuckled, period, new paragraph, open quote. Let me guess, comma, you guys are more familiar with fentanyl and heroin, comma, opioids. Period, close quote, new paragraph. Opioids we know, comma, close quote, Dunbar said, comma, answering for Floyd, period, new paragraph, open quote. The tone in Dunbar's voice must have triggered something in Leroy because he immediately stopped smiling, period, new paragraph, open quote. Well, ayahuasca is an ancient herb that people do retreats and smoke while in the Brazilian rainforest. Period. It gives you an extremely powerful hallucinogen. It's an extremely powerful hallucinogen that can cause you to basically disassociate from the real world. Period. DMT is one of the active ingredients in ayahuasca. Period. They're looking into it now for treatment of I know of a couple companies that are looking into it now for treating PTSD and heroin addiction, comma, other complications, period, close quote, in a paragraph, open quote. A drug to treat drug addiction, question mark, like methadone, question mark, close quote, in a paragraph. Leroy's head swayed from side to side, period, in a paragraph, open quote, kinda, comma, but not really, period. Something happens to the chemistry of the brain after taking a hit of DMT or ayahuasca, period. It gets rewired, comma, so to speak, period. It's a great tool for establishing empathy in people, comma, of reaffirming your place on this earth, period. No, comma, don't get me wrong, comma, I've never tried it, comma, too fucking scared I'll have a bad trip, comma, but this is what I've heard, period. Close quote to paragraph, open quote. And this is what they're giving these people in this clinical trial, question mark, close quote to paragraph, open quote. No, comma, not exactly, period. Like I said, comma, it seemed to be derived from DMT. It has some structural similarities, period. But, dot, 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 with these drugs, comma, you change one carbon atom, comma, you could have completely different effects. Period, close quote, and paragraph, open quote, like enhanced memory or focus, dot, 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 close quote, close, question mark, close quote. Floyd threw out there, period, and paragraph. Leroy shrugged, period, and paragraph, open quote. It's impossible to know, comma, really, period. I mean, if you look at the study outcome, comma, it was only to determine clearance rates and dosing, period. There were really no efficacy, M dash, or how effective it is at whatever their desired outcome is, M dash, would come in phase 3, period. They never got that far, comma, obviously, period, because of the adverse effects, period, close quote, paragraph, open quote, because of the suicide tendencies, period, close quote, and paragraph, open quote. That would be the one, period, close quote, and paragraph. Open quote. Floyd pressed his tongue into his cheek, period, new paragraph. Open quote. So, as he allowed his thoughts to wander, period. I've heard of people having bad trips before, comma. Could something like a bad trip on DMT or whatever the hell cerebrum is, comma, could that cause someone to get suicidal? Period, close quote, in paragraph, open quote. I mean, comma, a bad trip is a bad trip, period. You'd pretty much want to do anything to get out of that mode, comma, out of that headspace, period. Suicide would be one of them, period, close quote, in paragraph, open quote. But there was only one suicide attempt, comma, close quote. Floyd interjected, period, to paragraph, open quote. Yeah, dot, 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 close quote, in paragraph, open quote. And yet we have 4 girls who all committed suicide and the teacher, period. Close quote. That's 100% not just suicidal tendencies, comma, but actually going through with it, period, close quote. New paragraph. Open quote. We don't know how many people were taking this drug, period. What if the whole school took this drug and these 5 are the only ones that committed suicide, comma, close quote. Dunbar countered, period. Open quote. We're still waiting on the talk screens from the school, period. Close quote, the paragraph, open quote. But it would offer some explanation about the cryptic text, comma, about the IC, period. If they were whacked out on this hallucinogen, comma, who knows what they saw, comma, but they definitely would see something, period. Close quote, the paragraph, open quote. Leroy's eyes bounced from Dunbar back to Floyd, comma, as they both spoke. Period, new paragraph, open quote. Makes sense? Comma, close quote, he offered when they appeared to be done. Period, new paragraph, open quote. But what doesn't make sense is this fucking the fact that they had monoclonal antibodies in their system that made their hair turn white. Period. What is that all about? Question mark, close quote, in the paragraph. Dunbar and Leroy both stared at Floyd, comma, as if he had posed the question rhetorically, comma, as if he was also going to provide the answer, comma, or that they already knew it already, period, in paragraph. But the fact is, comma, they had no idea. He had no idea, period, new paragraph. Open quote. Maybe, dot, 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 maybe we're looking at this the wrong way. Period. Maybe we need to look more into these monoclonal antibodies, period. See what their side effects are. Comma, close quote. Floyd. Leroy said, period, new paragraph. Floyd couldn't help but take notice of the man's use of the word we, period, new paragraph. He didn't mind sharing some of the spotlight, comma, or diversifying the workload with Leroy, comma, particularly because Chase seemed to trust the man, period, new paragraph. Dunbar, on the other hand, comma, seemed a little more hesitant, comma, but Floyd suspected that this wasn't so much about Leroy's potential involvement, comma, but Drake's, period, new paragraph. Drake's long-standing tumultuous relationship with the NYPD, comma, which began when he was still a detective, comma, was something that they needed to tread lightly on, period, new paragraph, open quote. Hey, comma, I'm just here to help, question mark. close quote. Leroy said, comma, clearly also detecting this tension from Dunbar, period. Dunbar seemed torn, comma, but like Chase, comma, but eventually he relented, period, to paragraph, open quote. I guess if we're going to look into monoclonal antibodies, comma, close quote, he said, comma, pulling out a sheet of paper from the folder on the desk that they'd gotten from Verdant Pharmaceuticals, period, open quote. You should probably start with this one, period, close quote. In the paragraph, Floyd couldn't help but see Leroy smile and wondered that if, like him, comma, things didn't work out at DSLH, comma, he could also get a job at the FBI, period. All right, so we're moving forward a little bit. We're learning a little bit more about some hallucinogens, DMT, ayahuasca. And now we figured out that the molecule they were testing, cerebrum, was a derivative of DMT or related to DMT chemically. So the truth is, though, about these compounds, literally you change one carbon atom and you can, like I said in the story, you can change the effects positively and negatively, both. It's really, really unpredictable. When I was in drug development and consulting on clinical trials, I often thought that the thing that we need most in drug evaluation isn't safer trials, isn't more data, although these things obviously are important, or more participants. That one is very important, or being able to identify potential participants that would benefit from the drug. So if you look at a drug like tamoxifen, which is used for treatment of breast cancer, of ER-positive breast cancer, if you look at its efficacy across all breast cancers, it's like it's not efficacious. Like, it just doesn't work. But if you look at the people who are ER-positive, estrogen receptor positive breast cancers, then tamoxifen would be something that is going to be very effective for them. The reason why this is important, because we need to be able to look at screening of drugs in a particular population of people, not just like, it would be like saying, oh, does this drug work for cancer? Well, that's a ridiculous question. There are hundreds of different types of cancer. Which type of cancer? Which variant of that type of cancer? And so on and so forth. So we need to be able to narrow down who we want to test for specific compounds. That's why that part is very important. But even more important, we need to develop some computer. And I know there are hundreds of people working on this, thousands, right? But we need to be able to develop computer simulations that can predict and accurately model the potential efficacy of drugs for different diseases. Now, that is years off just because of how complex the human body is. But we also need to have a better understanding of how and why changing just one molecule or one carbon atom or one hydrogen atom, whatever the case may be, so dramatically alters the effects of particular compounds. So that's something that we really need to, I'm still doing it. I mean, I'm writing stories about it, so I hope that helps on some level. But that's something that the medical and science and drug testing focus should be on moving forward. And I know it is for sure. I think I'm going to call it there, guys. I'm just over the 2-hour mark. I've had a great time as per usual. We have talked about hot coffee, blacked out mugs, phone booths, breast cancer, drug treatment, hallucinogens, nootropics, you name it, we're here. Story time. We've talked about sous vide. Man, I had a great time with you guys. I'm going to wrap it up here. Like I said, I'm going to try to enjoy a bit of the day. I might do a bit more writing. Don't know. I'll do some editing and maybe some administrative shit. Bleh. But you guys have an awesome, awesome weekend. I hope to see you again here on Sunday or Monday. Monday, I'll be here at 10 o'clock. Hope to see you. Take care. Everyone be safe. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.